How often do you find yourself reading through a textbook or an article and there's just text on top of text on top of text? If you're anything like me and you have a short attention span, you're likely thinking about tonight's dinner before you even finish that first paragraph. Luckily, infographics have become one of the world's hottest visual communication tools. And whether you're a teacher or a student, a marketer or a researcher, whatever you may be, there's an infographic that can help you. Hello world, my name is Mike Ploger here with Visme, and over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through 13 different types of infographics and give you a handful of real-life examples on how they can be applied across different fields and industries. Let's get started. If you're a startup just breaching the surface of your capabilities, an infographic can help tell your audience just who you are and what you do. The first infographic that we're talking about today is a timeline. More specifically, a timeline of your company's history. Customers would love to see just how you got started, where you got started, and how you got to where you are now. It provides insight to the customer, and it's a reminder that you're not all too different from them. Are you confident with how you stand up to the competition? If so, try creating a simple compare-contrast infographic. This can illustrate the differences with you and your competition, but it can also show the similarities with those major corporations. However, if you use this infographic, make sure you stay objective and only stick with the facts. Hey, children don't have to be the only ones to use Venn diagrams. We know we all used it in elementary school because it's an easy way to grab attention, show what matters to you and what you represent. You can use this in everyday life as well. If you're proud of your corporate culture and you want to show it off to potential employees or clients, try creating a mixed chart like this one. It allows us to see how the company works from inside out, and with fun illustrations and plenty of creativity, I can tell you right now, I'd want to work here. On the other hand, maybe you're proud of your customer satisfaction. If so, create a mixed chart that includes high rating statistics, images of content customers, or text explaining what led to such great feedback. And lastly, there's a reason that those How To for Dummies books have been so successful over so many years. You can create your own mini how-to graphic that will attract attention, show how you can help, and it's very easy to understand. Remember earlier when I said I had a short attention span? Well, teachers knew it too, and unless I had a good visual to help me remember that material, I was likely to forget it. Now somehow I'm the one here to help all of you teachers and educators with that perfect infographic for your class. If you're an English teacher, try creating an infographic relating to your class literature. It can help students relate current events to that older literature that you're reading. Hamlet, a very tough read. To Kill a Mockingbird, I already forgot what happened, but if I would have had visuals, it would have helped me relate and understand the text much better. Hey, cyberbullying is no joke. There's a reason that I don't look at the comments below this video. So try creating an infographic like this one to tackle those tough subjects. It informs students of the damage, but even better, it will lead others to act. Presenting tough topics like this makes people want to take a second look. There's ways to create infographics for history class as well. Try comparing the United States to ancient Rome, or the dominant economies of today, like the United States and China. What about in math class? Numbers on top of numbers on top of numbers can often make students get lost. But if you create a colorful how-to guide like you have here with pi, students will find math much more interesting. And last but not least, we visit science. I grew up watching Miss Frizzle and the Magic School Bus, but unfortunately, those field trips ran out. With such complex subjects, try creating an infographic like this one, the anatomy of a flower. You can see it all from the sections of the stem, sections of the petal, even how it takes energy from the sun. You're providing a mental image to last a lifetime, just like Miss Frizzle did. A creative infographic will help draw attention to a specific cause. A visual is much more likely to force browsers to do a double take, piquing their curiosity. Take climate change, for example. The effects didn't exactly happen overnight, so by creating a timeline of the time span of those effects, your viewer will much better understand the point. Hey, sometimes lending a hand is easier said than done, and while people may want to help, they may not know how to. So create a guide to outline the steps to support a good cause. A big concern for a lot of people is what happens to that money that they donate. Well, so lay out exactly what the nonprofit accomplishes, and others will be much more likely to donate or volunteer. Are you raising awareness for a brand new campaign? Well, try creating a mix chart like this one that will inform viewers of what to do, who it helps, and it'll show just the impact that it creates. The Ice Bucket Challenge from a few years ago raised over $115 million. The best part about it is it led to a brand new gene discovery directly tied to the disease. Again, we revisit the mix chart. This is just your simple annual report, but it shows the difference made in a year's time with statistics and even what to expect in the future. There are a number of possibilities for creating marketing infographics as well, and with so many populating the internet, I guarantee you saw one before clicking this video. You can start with a web diagram or a family tree. This will help viewers connect the dots. It shows who influenced who and how you got to a certain point without using a timeline. Try gathering expert advice and throwing it into an infographic. Beginners are much more likely to trust expert opinions, and if you put a face to those experts, you have a very effective infographic. Illustrating the origin of a product makes for a very fun, informative read. Personally, I'm a big fan of this timeline because it shows the history of a guitar laid out from start to finish, and it even uses that guitar chord as the timeline itself. Marketing has changed greatly in the past couple decades, and you can show that in an infographic. Compare old school to new school and the difference in tactics, and show how marketing has evolved and even the direction of new trends. A mixed chart can also examine ultra-successful individuals and companies, include stats and quotes to visualize their success. Elon Musk here, worth $9.3 billion at 43 years old. Think he'll share with a YouTube host like me? I doubt it, but I can ask. An infographic for a salesperson can be as important as the food they eat. It can guide an individual through a difficult or even an unseen situation. It can also be used to see how well something is selling. You can view this data at a glance and decide what improvements or changes need to be made. For those difficult situations that I mentioned, this flow chart here is a perfect guide. It allows you to see what responses work with what situation. And in the sales world, this can be a lifesaver. Maybe you're stuck in the same routine and not making any progress or not making any sales. If you break down the elements of a successful sale, you can create fresh ideas for your product. We all know that every customer is just a little bit different. To try to understand your customer, try comparing generational marketing tactics. Break down the numbers, provide stats on potential customers, and you'll have a much better idea on how to attack a customer right away. Lastly, don't believe all the excuses for lack of sales either. I'm talking to all you sales bosses out there. Try creating an infographic like this one to debunk all the myths in the sales world. It will inform and amuse your employees. Next time you're in the doctor's office, take a look around. I can pretty much guarantee that you will see an infographic somewhere in the room, and since we're not all doctors, these infographics help us easier understand what we're dealing with. One you might find is a family tree of potential inherited diseases. These are loaded with information, but they provide help on what to do in case we inherit these diseases ourselves. How a disease landed in a certain region or evolved over time can be shown in a timeline. This is good to show the seriousness of a disease and even where it could be headed. The brain is a complex organ. It's actually the most complex organ in all the body, which is why it would be much easier to understand if you put it on paper. An infographic can show us each part of the brain and what each part of the brain controls, like sleep, which for some reason in my brain seems to constantly be triggered. But what if I had fatigue, pain, anger, and other symptoms, but no diagnosed problem? A well thought out infographic can tell me if I'm just stressed or if there's a much more serious issue at hand. And lastly, we have a mixed chart to help us connect the dots to unknown illnesses. Better yet, preventative measures can be learned with the help of a detailed image. When you think of research, you might think of a lot of boring data, but that doesn't have to be the case. A flowchart can take a viewer through the journey of your research from start to finish, highlighting each step taken along the way. Or maybe you're just beginning your research and you need to create a proposal. Try creating a proposal in the form of a mix chart. You can give statistics and explain why this research is valuable in a unique manner. And for results of your research, you also can't go wrong with a simple mixed chart. It's the most used infographic for a reason, as it's simple, reliable, and very easy to read. Maybe you received your data from a ton of different locations. Try creating a map, pinpointing where you received all of this data, and you can even compare with how the data differs in different locations. And lastly, for researchers, you can create a flowchart that'll flow right into new experiments. It's a great way to branch into new topics and future findings. Last but not least, I'm talking to all of you students out there. Whether you're trying to ace a paper, project, or a test, there's an infographic that could help you. Maybe you're even trying to get a job. An infographic resume will show creativity in your personality, and I guarantee you it'll stand out above all those straight text resumes. Using an infographic in a presentation can also help wake up the back of the class. Throw in statistics and highlights of what you're covering, and for some added excitement, throw in some shocking facts. Why write a paper littered with words when you can create a much more visually entertaining read? By throwing this tiger on this infographic, the paper pretty much comes to life, creating emotion in the reader. However, just make sure you check with your teacher before going this route. I used to love when teachers would give me the material on an exam. Now take that info and create your own personal study guide in the form of an infographic. It can outline the material and it's much easier to remember. Lastly, you've probably doodled an infographic and didn't even realize it. To express yourself or communicate with friends, try creating an infographic doodle. Get creative and have fun with it. That's going to do it for this video. I do want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel, and even better yet, go to Visme.com to start creating your own infographic right now. For now, I'm Mike Ploger with Visme, helping you make information beautiful.